Hi.
Uh, so what I was saying was, so this came out in '85, and
Yes.
I went and actually saw it with Jagar and my other cousin, and we saw it. I think we saw it opening weekend because back at that time, my mom or my family would just take me to movies all the time, anyways. But and this is just one of those movies that when you see on TV, like you're gonna have to like either finish the scene or finish the movie, no matter where the movie starts. What when was the first time that you went and saw it? Do you remember? Did you see it in the theaters?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you asked me that because this movie's really super special for me. I remember it's 1985. I'm what 12, 12 years old. And the trailers are on all summer.
Oh, yeah.
It's the summer that my parents split up for the last time,
Ah,
and it's during that kind of time when after your they call it like a Disneyland dad and a Marriott's mom kind of thing where so we were on a road trip, my mom and my brother Troy and I, and we went up to Eureka, and we were going up there to see family. And in there's this old theater in Eureka. It's an old timey theater with a balcony, a movie theater. It must have
I th-
been like
yeah.
an opera theater or something.
Well, I
And I
think
wish I
everything in Eureka is old.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. And we sat in a balcony and I insisted that we see this movie. And Troy's pretty young at the time, 8 probably. And all I can tell you is I was a Family Ties guy.
Oh yeah.
I loved Alex P. Keaton, and all of this looked good. It's a silver car. I was big into cars like uh, uh, Knight Rider was on at the time, so it was a lot of car heavy A Team and Dukes of Hazard, obviously. So
Fall Guy.
if there's a fast car going, it's got my attention, right? We have
Yeah.
three channels, so if it's on one of them, I'm watching.
Well, I remember John and I went with another cousin of mine. So there's three of us and our parents or whatever. And when that DeLorean came out from the back, I remember my cousin John and my other cousin looked at each other and went, "That's a DeLorean." And I was like, I didn't know about cars back then, so I was like, I don't know what that means. Yeah, continue. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'd never actually, I'd never seen one in the wild before.
Yeah,
Had
I
you
never
ever
knew
seen
what
a
it was.
DeLorean in the wild at that point? I had never seen one.
Yeah, but he had a big. I guess he had a big. It was a big history of at that time, at least, because yeah, I was never really into cars. So even now, I'll see a car down the street, or I'll be driving with John, and he'll be like, "Oh, look at that Acura, whatever, whatever," and I'm like, "Yeah, cool."
Yeah, sure.
um, but not only, so that was '85.
Yeah.
But look at all these movies that came out. So you have Back to the Future. This is just the top grossing movies. So you had Back to the Future. You had Rambo, First
Oh,
Blood Part Two, Rocky Four, The Color Purple, Out of Africa, Cocoon, Jewel of the Nile, Witness, The Goonies, and Spies Like Us. That was the top 10 of that
oh
year.
man.
What a year for movies, huh?
That
Because like the year before, it was like '84, and you had Footloose and all that kind of stuff. Ghostbusters, Beverly Hills Cop. I just think the '80s were like the prime um, time for movies, man.
well, they were
Especially,
making movies for us.
yeah,
I mean, again, 12 years old. There's fast cars. I mean, this is not. My mom enjoyed it. Sure, it was fun. I mean, she enjoyed it because I was just. I don't think I blinked during the entire. I mean, we sat in the front row of the balcony
yeah,
in this massive theater, and I don't think I blinked the entire time. Uh,
yeah,
it's got Huey Lewis and the News songs in it. They're, obviously top of the, if you could look up the who's got the hits in 1985, there's probably a Huey Lewis. They wrote that for the movie. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was. I think it was. Like Huey Lewis, especially that he was just everywhere. in that year.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
you couldn't. Sports had, I think, just came out like the year before, I think, or
That's
maybe
right.
even 85. I'm not sure, but and so everything. I mean, it was everywhere, and um, yeah, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing "Power Love." That was,
Hmm.
and actually going back to the movie, like it was one of those movies too, where at the end you just didn't want it to end, and you would get to the end like because I remember being a kid and watching like Return of the Jedi and all that kind of stuff and just getting to the end and you're knowing that it's going to end and you're like no 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 because it's just you're a kid so that's just your whole life your whole everything but so have you ever seen that movie Mischief?
Mischief. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure I have.
well that came out this year too.
Okay.
Tough Turf with
Oh no.
James Spader and Robert Downey Jr.
Is that a dancing movie?
No, it's James Spader. It's one of his cool guy movies where he was
Okay.
like this kind of um I only saw it once, but it's like this the new kid in town and all the he takes on all the bullies and there's just it's just one of those.
Okay.
But anyway,
They're
so
breaking
yeah,
they're breaking new ground on that one.
yeah, I know, huh? um yeah, so I mean that's just February. Jesus. Turk 182, The Sure Thing came
Oh
out.
boy. Yeah.
Lust in the Dust. Do you remember seeing the I remember I was in elementary school and one of my friends in school was like, "Hey, let's go see Lust in the Dust." And I had no idea what it was about. I just thought it was about these girls that went to in a Western setting.
Yeah.
And I went to his house and "Hey, mom, can you take us to the movies?" "Oh yeah, sure." We just hop in the car and we're driving there. She goes, "So what are you guys gonna go see?" And he was like, "Oh, we're gonna go see Lust in the Dust." And
Oh,
she's like, "No, no, you're
yeah.
not seeing that movie. No." And we're like, "Why?
Yeah.
What's what?" She just that's disgusting. You're not seeing that movie. You're gonna go see something else. And we ended up seeing something else. So that was before we even figured out that you could buy a ticket and then go and see whatever movie you
Right.
wanted. But
That's what you get
yeah.
for being honest.
Yep, exactly. Mask. Anyways, so yeah, it was just a good year for movies, man.
Mask.
But
So Mask
yeah,
comes out in '85 too.
yeah.
That's Eric Roberts.
Yeah. Oh no, Eric Stoltz. Stoltz.
Excuse me, Eric Stoltz. Eric Stoltz. Speaking of Back to the Future, coming back to you're
Yeah.
telling me that he would have had Back to the Future and Mask in the same year. That was a good Eric
Yeah.
Stoltz year.
Yeah.
It had potential to be a massive Eric Stoltz year.
Because I think um either they had shot it and hadn't come out yet, because I don't know
Right.
when it came out, but him and Leah Thompson were in, or Leah, what's her name?
Yeah, Leah
Back to
Thompson.
We're in Some Kind of Wonderful, that John Hughes movie. And that's
Oh, that's
why
right.
yeah, that's why she was like, "You gotta hire Eric, for Back to the Future." And so when he got fired, she was kind of pissed and she was just like, "What?" But have you seen the footage from him on YouTube?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They, I
That would
mean,
have been
it's him and Christopher Lloyd, and I think there's the diner scene with Tom Wilson and Crispin
yeah,
Glover Crispin Glover in there. They filmed so much of it, and
5 weeks. Yeah.
was it 5 weeks?
5 weeks, and it was something like $20 million or
Oh,
$25 million.
oh my
And
god!
the insurance was gonna cover them to reshoot everything, and so they were like, "Well, I think the car chase when he's driving in the car, like all the long shots, I think that's still Eric Stoltz, and, just a couple other ones, I think. I don't remember anything else, but
Do
yeah, it
you
was
very famously they switched horses mid ride in that, and Michael J. Fox was filming Family Ties during the
yeah,
day, and then would
yeah,
go and film all the night scenes, like the Twin Pines Mall and all
yeah,
the all the night shoots. So he was working 24/7 during that time. Is there? Do we know why they
yeah.
decided after $25 million? hey man, maybe Eric's because he goes on and does Mask, and he's what are you talking about?
Well, I think the story goes that Zemeckis was not. He wanted it as he wanted it comedic, and Eric Stoltz was
Oh,
playing it a little more
I,
serious than he wanted. He was
okay.
playing it like Leah Thompson was saying. He was more like he was playing it like he was depressed and kind of dark, and so the comedic scenes weren't coming through, and so he showed it to Spielberg, and Spielberg he was like, I don't think I'm getting what I need here, and Spielberg's like, okay, well, I'll back you, do whatever you need to do. And so he's like, well, I think we need to get rid of Eric Stoltz. And
Wow,
that's
and so
that's
it could have been a really dark, like Ghostbusters was supposed to be not a comedy. They wrote it
uh
as a very dark, R-rated, dark
yeah,
movie, and it morphed into a comedy. And of course, we celebrate.
yeah,
But I kind of like to see in the multiverse, like, what if it was Eric Stoltz and a very brooding Marty McFly, and he's
yeah.
not Calvin Klein, and
I think it was either it was something else too. Like it wasn't Calvin Klein, but it was supposed to be some other brand or something. But
is that right?
yeah, I mean there was a lot of things, like his shoes that he wears.
Hmm.
They were supposed to be different, but those are the shoes he was just wearing, and he had forgotten his other shoes, I guess. And so they're like, just keep them. So they had to go to Nike or Nike, whatever, and say, hey, can you make these shoes? Because they weren't making them anymore, and they had to remake all those shoes. And so, yeah, it's
And that becomes a running gag through all three movies,
oh, his shoes. That's right, huh? Because in
right?
the
Because
second
then they
one,
had the self-lacing shoes in the second
yeah,
movie, and then in 1885 he goes into the bar, and one of Biff's guys,
okay, what is that?
what kind of moccasins is them? So good. I mean, they made it. I mean, that's just found money, really.
Yeah,
You think
yeah,
about it.
yeah. Well,
Like when
that's
he walked on and he forgot to change his shoes, and okay, we're rolling,
yeah.
just going. We've already spent $25 million, and nobody's ever going to see it again. So,
Oh shoot. All right, cool. So, what are some of your favorite scenes from Back to the Future? What are some of the scenes that stick out to you?
whoa,
I mean, you
boy.
could
Um,
practically say the whole movie, but for me it is.
sure.
But
Honestly, one of the things I mean, and you could ask me this question 5 years from now, and or 5 years ago, and it'd be different, of course. But right now, in 2024 in August, one of the character that I think I connect with the most really
hmm
is Doc, and Doc in where he's sitting in his living room in a gorgeous mansion, by the way, that they write about later. That his, I mean, we only see his shop for a lot of it, and he's riding around. There's a Taco Bell on the corner. But when he goes back to 1955, I mean, this place is fantastic, and he's sitting and he's pondering so many. Oh, what am I going to do? What am I? He's like a nuclear physicist for all intents and purposes, and he's got the photos, these black and white photos of his heroes on the mantelpiece. Tom,
it can't be done, can it?
I love that so much, and I you have no idea how many times per day in today's timeline that I think to myself, Tom, because I mean, essentially what he's doing, he's talking to himself,
Right,
but he's also looking for answers from these people who are way smarter than him, but they're also him too. I mean, these
right,
obviously are
right.
not going to answer him.
Yeah.
If he were Thomas Edison, and I forget, there's four photos on the wall, and somebody can chime in on the chat line and tell us who the other ones were. But he's talking to
We're at
Thomas Edison,
95.7,
right?
95.7,
I'm
3.
sure Nikola Tesla's on there. Maybe I need to
Yeah.
pause it because it's really quick cuts. But I just think that that's just such a brilliant. Like, only Christopher Lloyd can do that.
Well, he was pretty. I was just watching it probably about a week ago because
Mm.
I own it, so he's pretty.
No way,
If
you
you,
own it?
oh yeah, can
You
you believe
stole it
that?
from Blockbuster, didn't you? You didn't never took it back?
But he's pretty. Like if you talk to him, like I've seen interviews with him, he's a pretty mellow guy, and so
Yeah.
like when you see him in this movie, he is just like to 10 the whole way through.
Well,
Oh!
he's Jim, but he's like Jim's astrophysicist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's still got that. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Okie
oh,
dokie.
he takes the Jim character and he turns it into this crazy genius
Yeah.
who's right, by the way,
Yeah.
who invents time travel. Let's not forget the man invents time travel with help
No
from
no
himself
headlines.
from the past.
Yeah. No headlines. No TMZ. You know.
He fell off his toilet hanging a clock and he invented time travel. I mean, you kidding me? That's
Oh
it? That's
shit.
all you got to
Yeah.
do?
Well, one of the things too that I didn't get until probably 10 years after and maybe I shouldn't be saying this aloud, but um I didn't get the connection of him or his mom liking him for some reason. So I always thought when I was watching the movie, I always just thought, "Oh, yeah, she's hot. Why isn't he like trying to make the moves on her?"
Oh, I
Cuz I
see. I
had
see what you're saying.
yeah, I did not
Yeah.
get the whole mom thing. And I'm glad I didn't say that out loud because now I look back and I watched all these reactors on YouTube and they're just like, "That's your mom. Oh my god. Oh." And I'm just like, "Oh god. Jesus, what does that say about me?" But yeah, I was just so naive. I just was like did not get it. And that's kind of embarrassing to say actually.
Well, it's a reverse Oedipus complex, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I
So,
don't know how Zemeckis came up with really any of this. I mean, maybe he started out this is going to be a dark time travel movie. I mean, we didn't really have a whole lot of time travel movies in 1985,
no.
uh,
Um
and broke the rules.
well, Bob Gale, the producer, Zemeckis' producer came up with it because he went home and visited his parents and saw his dad's yearbook and thought,
No,
if
no,
I was in high school with my dad, would I
no,
be
no!
friends
Please
with my
don't.
dad?
No, my mom was hot. And please don't say that.
No, no, no. He just thought if he saw his dad and was like, would I be friends with my dad if I was in high school?
Oh,
So he,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay,
so he wrote a story about that. And the original time machine was supposed to be a refrigerator.
I
And
did hear about that. That
yeah, and so they were like, well, if it's a kids movie, maybe they ixnay on that, but yeah. I think the scene that lately cuz I agree with you in the sense of like this is always going to be changing. But right now my favorite scene is let's see. I think it's the first scene with Biff cuz it's or no, it's that scene plus it goes into the dinner with the dad and like, "Oh, your dad, that was
oh my
stupid.
god,
Dad hit him with the car."
yeah.
And when she's like, "Oh, it was then I knew I was gonna be with him the rest of my life." And then he's like and just starts laughing, and they're all just looking like, just like, "Oh god."
They're
That's my favorite.
exasperated. They're already done.
Yeah. They're just like, "Ugh." But yeah, so anyways, so if you were
Who in the hell's John F. Kennedy? Is such an amazing line that in the
uh,
theater everyone was just all like
yeah.
spitting their root beer out. Wait, a block past Maple. That's John F. Kennedy Drive. It's so good. Just those little like because it's 1955.
Yeah.
Literally nobody's ever heard of John F. Kennedy. I mean, that's. I mean, the
I think
dad
he was
is this
I think he had
hard
just
ass.
Yeah, I think he had just got elected as a senator, but I don't know if anybody knew that at the time.
Not
Um,
in Hill Valley,
yeah,
California,
yeah.
wherever that.
Um, and I know Zemeckis was going to say he said that nobody was going to remake this movie as long as he was alive. He has that in his contract. But if you could make remake this movie
Yeah.
with today's actors, who do you think would play Marty McFly? Who do you think could pull off Marty McFly and Doc?
Oh, that's such a great question. Marty McFly and Doc. Um, is it still a comedy, or can I do whatever I want
Yeah.
here?
Oh yeah. No, it's still a comedy. It's just, I mean, because I don't think
All right.
there's not a lot of. I don't know. I don't go to the movies a lot anymore, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of. All the movies just seem like big movies, like they're either comic book movies, which I love, but or something big that could have sequels and prequels and all that kind of stuff. I can't really picture anybody.
Really?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm thinking off the top of my head, Timothy Chalamet, but I don't think he could pull it
Sure.
off. You
I mean
know, I
that comes to mind. I mean, he sprung to the front of my mind. I was thinking, what if we put Jonah Hill
I already like it.
and Seth Rogen?
Oh,
I'm not,
um,
I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse. Obviously, I am with these choices, but if I'm just spitballing here,
yeah,
I didn't want to like Pineapple Express,
yeah.
and not
I
that
didn't. I mean, go
I
ahead, go ahead.
freaking love that movie so much. Um, and not that Jonah Hill's in Pineapple Express, but um, I see like we used to there used to be like so you had the John Hughes movies, then you had um, uh, the Wayne's World movies. We kind of went in these periods of time where there were groups that would make our movies for us, as far as comedies go. And I think we need to kind of break out of that a little bit. Timothy Chalamet is a great call. I wonder if we want to go, don't take this out of context, a little bit younger, like maybe a, a junior high, not a senior in high school with well, that's not going to work, right? Because he's supposed to like the dilemma in Back to the Future is he's the one who gets hit by the car and
Yeah,
not his father.
right.
Hmm. So if you have to remake it shot for shot, I
It's
don't know.
hard.
Same spot
Yeah,
you are. I'm
yeah,
51 years old and I'm not up to speed
yeah,
on Brat Summer, dude. I'm just
yeah.
not. You know.
Um, because I'm having a hard time thinking about who would take Doc's place. I was thinking what popped into my head was someone
Who do you
like
got?
Vincent D'Onofrio, but I don't. Now that I say it out loud, it doesn't seem right. I mean, I just today's age, it just doesn't seem like there's the heavy hitters that you had
Could you do
back
a
in.
Christoph Waltz in that role? Mhm.
Oh wow,
How good
yeah.
would that be? A
I mean, it would be
psychotic,
good.
yeah. I mean, because the Doc character he's been living his life for 30 years. When we meet him, he's known that this his plan works.
Yeah.
How does
Oh
that not
yeah,
drive you insane?
that's true, huh? Is that a plot hole or is that
Well, it's a paradox. It's the
paradox? There you
thing
go.
that he said not to do, and clearly he knows about it
Yeah.
because it works. Bet your ass it works.
It's another kind of paradox or plot hole, whatever, is that um so when Doc goes back to 1885
Yeah.
and then he sends Marty the letter. Marty finds the Doc from 1955, but then they find his grave. Wouldn't Doc be erased from existence? Uh, that's what I always kind of uh, go, aha, you know.
It
But
does take some liberties in that whole
yeah,
timeline thing because if you're living in the J.J. Abrams world where
yeah,
you can't fix the past, which I think most theoretical physicists are what happened happened.
yeah,
You can't go
yeah,
back
yeah,
in time and fix the past. If you were to be able to go back in time, you would be in a different reality. You wouldn't be
yeah.
able to change it. You wouldn't be able to then come forward back into your own time and have fixed it.
Right.
That that's what their theories are as far as time travel goes. And that actually makes the most sense to me. But
Yeah,
in
it
Back
does
to the
to me
Future,
too.
they do go back and they fix it. And
Yeah.
his dad writes a book, and you see, son, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And that's not who his father was. He was a
Yeah.
slob, like eating peanut brittle, and then he had the
Peanut brittle.
Toyota in the driveway. I mean, everything, yay! And then we lived
Yeah.
happily ever after. The thing about Back to the Future that we didn't expect that everything he fixed it all, yay! Biff's now the dork. So, sorry, Mr. McFly. What we didn't expect was the to be continued at the end of it.
Well, that wasn't added until the home video release because I remember seeing it in the theaters and it didn't have that. And when I read up on it, hold on, I got something on that right
Are you
here.
sure? I
Yeah,
they just it just the DeLorean goes into the thing and then bop bop ba 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 da ba
it
da
says
ba.
to. I thought it's well. It says to be continued was inserted into the end of the VHS release and was omitted from the 2002 DVD release. The
No
cliffhanger
kidding.
ending of the film was not originally intended to set up a sequel, but rather is just one last joke. Um,
Wow, that's kind of Mandela effect. I always thought that was.
yeah, that's what I
No,
because I remember I
I'm
thought
sure
it
that
said
I'm sure that's right.
yeah I
Excuse
remember it said something. I remember it said something like the end or something. I can't remember what it
me.
said.
Tell me, doctor, where are we going this time?
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it was admitted by the writer that they had originally intended the following two sequels that the ending would not have had Jennifer get in the car with Doc and Marty. This is why Jennifer was almost immediately knocked unconscious at the beginning of part two. Yeah, because they didn't have sequels in mind when they wrote this. So that was genius on and that's why they say that that they're
No
not going to
kidding.
let anybody remake it or redo it or reboot it or anything. And I agree with them because there's just some movies that you just shouldn't be doing that with, especially with
100%.
have you seen Red Dawn? The remake of Red Dawn,
No, I
which
won't
is
watch.
yeah, it was horrible. It,
Or
and
Point Break. I haven't watched either of those.
yeah, I got probably about 20 minutes or so into that and I was like, nope, that's just
Come on, man.
needless. It's cash grab. And like Footloose, that's on YouTube by the way for free.
Is it?
Yeah, and these movies just kind of they just recreate the scenes. There's no um like when you watched Red Dawn, that was brutal. That was
Well,
like a
we
kind
were
of
in the middle of the Cold War. We were
yeah,
literally afraid this was going to happen.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And Powers Booth coming in telling us that the story around the campfire. I mean, this was like I was like listening to what Powers Booth had to say. Just I'm
yeah,
listening to what he had when they came in through the north, and
yeah.
we were worried. This was a real. This was a real fear.
And the remake was, they all just went back to the clubhouse to regroup. It wasn't up in
Oh
the
God,
mountains.
they
They
didn't piss
weren't.
in the radiator.
No, didn't do that. Didn't.
Son of a bitch.
There was no like cold winters. There was no scavenging for food. There was no.
Learning how to hunt, like they taught
Yeah,
the girls to hunt, and
and this was just let's meet back at the clubhouse, and it was like down the street from. It just seemed like it was like down the street from something, and it just didn't seem. And then the
That's
whole
not what you
army,
need to remake.
yeah,
You
just
don't
it's
need to
just
remake.
soulless.
Of course, yeah, absolutely soulless. Um, I mean, this was on our minds. We were worried that there was going to be a war with the Russians.
Yeah, yeah,
Reagan was in office. We weren't sure if his mind was working right at that point. I'm old enough to remember, like,
yeah.
Phil Collins is making "This Is the Land of Illusion."
Oh shit. Yeah. So let's see. What else do we got here? What are some of your what are some things that you would fix, if anything, in Back to the Future? Would you fix anything? Would you Is there any miscasts or anything?
Boy, that's a good question. Miss Cass. You know what?
Yeah.
I can't think of an extraneous character that is just in there for no reason. I mean,
I mean, everything is connected in such a perfect way for me in that movie.
it's tight. It's just
Just down to the whole, this is Marvin
yeah,
Berry,
yeah,
and he's calling,
yeah,
hey Chuck,
yeah.
just down to little bitty details like that. I think, if we go back, we should do this with the Exorcist movie, but the original Exorcist, I
I
feel
think
like
there
is
is
in this.
one. I think there is some contextual problems. I don't know that Rickenbacker that he's playing was made in by 1955. Other than that, I don't know.
Yeah,
On the stage, with the Starlighters,
but I
Marvin
think,
Berry and the Starlighters.
but I think a movie like this is like, it's perfect. I think it's one of the few
Mhm.
movies for me that is just perfect execution. I mean, they just stick the landing, and I mean, it was in the zeitgeist. It just now it's part of it, and
Yes,
there's not a lot of movies that you just. I mean, I think, because I always think of you when I'm always quoting it, because I know that we quote a lot of movies. Like, uh,
I think he took that
I'm
guy's
on.
wallet.
I think he took that guy's wallet. Um,
It's
but
that's
I,
a nobody character. He's the one who's just in the parking lot, and yet somehow, like our friendship, a lot of times, like we get to know each other. What with at a law firm with like 250 people working in
that's
it.
right. Yeah, yeah.
And either you or I probably said at one point in 2004, I think he took that guy's wallet, and I just went, "That's oh my god, that's it."
I just
Immediate
remember.
friendship.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was again the same thing. I think it was either you or me quoted a movie, and you were
Mhm.
like, "I know that."
There's
Yes,
no way this guy just quoted that fucking line.
yeah,
There's
it was
no.
something. I think another one that we do a lot is when we trip on something, have that removed, and I think
Yes.
that,
You mean
and I
up
think
this ramp?
I
That's
just saw
just.
that movie last night.
Did you? No way.
It was on AMC,
Let's see
and
the
it went.
globe right over there. I mean,
It went right in.
there's so many. I mean,
Yeah,
as guys, for the most part, oftentimes that's our entire relationship is just what obscure movie line can the other one just to try to make the other one laugh, and it's a bond forever. It's
dude.
so
I
good.
well,
It
I've
can't be
never.
over.
It's rare that I meet somebody and then they'll be like, they'll just know because I'm on Threads a lot, and Threads right now is just it's so new that people just are just asking questions like top five. What are your top five movies, or what's
Oh,
your favorite
nice.
line from a movie and stuff. So I'm always just responding, and I think somebody was asking about it last night. That movie Clue. You remember that movie Clue?
Oh
And they were
yeah.
like, just list your favorite lines. And everybody was just, oh man, they did not disappoint. But my
No.
favorite line from that movie was, I think it was Madeline Kahn when she was saying, he did a lot of ridiculous things. I mean, he threatened to kill me in public. Why would he want to kill you in public? No, well, I think she meant he threatened in public to kill her. Oh, it's just little things like that. And when you can find somebody that knows stuff like that, then got to hang on to
Yes, 100%. You have to hang on to them.
them.
It's a way. I like you and I haven't seen each other in person in an awful long time, and here we
Yeah,
are, freaking
yeah.
yucking up like a couple
Like
of
nothing.
teenagers,
Like no, like no
like
time
it
has passed.
right.
Yeah,
And that's what it is. It's movies. It's
yeah.
movie lines. It's brilliant lines written for the movies that we celebrate, whether rationally or irrationally, and it can get you right back into like I went on Monday to the Giants game
Mm,
with the best man at my wedding, who I've known since we were both 4 years old. But we hadn't seen each other since last summer when we went to a Giants game because he's up in Ukiah. So I don't get up to Ukiah very often. He's not down here very often. He's a firefighter. I'm not a firefighter. And but we'll meet up once a year. And I mean almost I mean he walks in the front door and there's chaos going on with the new kitties. And he looks at me and he just says, "Can you describe the ruckus, sir?" And we're right. I mean, we're back to freaking junior high again.
yeah,
We'll never lose that part of ourselves. It's and movies help us really connect with that, and it's a way to stay young. It's a way to time
yeah.
travel, if you will.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Breakfast Club came out this year too. Just to slide that little fact
Oh
in
my
there.
God,
85. What a year, huh? What a year. Hey,
unbelievable!
okay.
What else did John Hughes, as prolific as he was, wrote two movies came out in 1985 that John Hughes made. How did he have all this time? He was like the Stephen King of his time, where he was like,
Well, he
just
wrote
movie,
Breakfast
movie, movie,
Club.
movie, dead.
Yeah, he wrote either Breakfast Club or Weird Science in like a weekend. He was very prolific when it came to writing.
He's
It
like,
was
that's touched by God kind of stuff right there.
yeah, yeah.
Breakfast Club? Are you serious?
I remember John wanted to go. I wanted to go see um Explorers. Remember that movie, Explorers?
No, I don't think I
Ethan.
do.
Oh, we got to do a deep dive on that one. Um,
Explorers.
yeah, with Ethan Hawke is his first movie, and River Phoenix.
Oh shit!
um,
Really?
they play these kids. Oh, you got to watch that. You got to watch it, and we'll come back and do a deep dive on that.
I should have asked you before we started. I'm swearing on your podcast. Is that okay?
That's good. Yes.
Okay. Because we didn't go over the parameters. We didn't. I don't think we discussed. We just went and launched right into it.
Yeah, that's I just kind of wanted no frills because I'm not like, hi, welcome to my pod. I just didn't want to do all that stuff.
Yeah, you
So
haven't broken away for stamps.com yet, and I'm wondering when that break's going to happen.
all right. So where does this fall in Zemeckis's filmography? This like what do you top? Let's put it this way:
Oh
top
God!
five,
All right.
top five Zemeckis.
Top five Zemeckis movies.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, I think you know that it's going to be my number one, but I guess what we need to find out is who's taking the silver.
It's I
Robbie.
already
Oh,
I have mine.
Robbie
Yeah, go ahead.
Zemeckis. Robert. You have one? Go ahead and give me your list.
Okay. Well, I don't.
Where you
I mean,
at?
I'm gonna. I mean, I like Forrest Gump. I think
Go
Forrest
ahead,
Gump's a
shoot.
little. It's a little.
Oh,
Sometimes it can get a little schmaltzy, but my second one, so Back to the Future is his best, I think. But I think Romancing the Stone is comes in close second.
oh my God.
And then for third, what did I just have a bunch of his movies here. I'm a big Contact guy. I don't know about you. Do you like
Oh
space
yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
I love
No,
Contact. I
no,
know a lot of people don't like it.
I love Contact. That's one that stays with you.
Yeah,
It really is because you're not sure. Did she travel through space? Did she go into a wormhole? Did she not? You can watch it either way. So good, so good. And Jodie Foster's, come
yeah,
on,
yeah.
the best.
And and then I have, um, I saw What Lies Beneath. I, it's okay, but I like Castaway better. I'm a big Castaway fan. Well, I know a lot of people don't like that one either, but it's just I'm a big sentimental sap. So
Oh, for
when
sure.
at the end when they're talking about you're the love of my life, I'm just like, good
It
lord, that hits me.
you cry twice in minimum twice two time cry in Castaway for sure.
Yeah,
Um, it's not one that you watch on a Saturday morning when you're just it's a lot. That movie's a
yeah.
lot, and it's what 3 hours.
Two, yeah, close to three. I think it's two and some change.
It's
I mean,
got
a
to be
lot of
two.
change, like two and a
And at the
half, I think.
end, when he gets to the crossroads, I mean, there's so much symbolism in that movie.
Yeah,
Zemeckis
yeah.
is really big on symbolism. He's sneakily symbolic on a lot of. You don't realize that you're like, oh, oh, you know what I mean? Like you can
Yeah.
watch one of his movies 100 times and not pick up on the fact that this is from uh, the Iliad. Uh, uh, this is Homer. I mean, he'll do that to you, and you accept what he's presented to you as its own work, which it is, of course.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
you're like, how are you? Castaway.
That's how I
Yeah, I
see
hadn't
the
even.
natural. Yeah, that's how I see the natural
Oh
too.
my God,
Is
yeah.
the yeah, the Odyssey.
Did he also
Um,
do? Who did the Legend of Bagger Vance? Was that?
that was Robert Redford.
Oh, it was Robert Redford. Okay,
Yeah. So actually, I'm putting all Back to the Future, all three movies into one. That's
sure.
what I'm considering
Well,
one.
I had the
So
box
the
set of
yeah.
VHS tapes, by the way.
So my third is or my fourth is Forrest Gump, and
Okay.
then I finish off with Flight. I love that movie. I love Denzel in that movie. The coked up, drunk
Yeah,
Denzel.
yeah.
You know.
I'm drunk
So
now.
those are my five. I don't know.
Wow.
I
All
think
right.
he's
Well,
he's pretty
I'll
he's
have
pretty prolific as a filmmaker. I think because he hung out with he wasn't a part of the graduating class, but he hung out with Spielberg and Barry
Lucas.
Levinson and yeah. So in fact, he wanted to do Back to the Future and could get funding. And they told him until you have a hit, then maybe we'll think about it. So he went out and made Romancing the Stone. And then from that he made Back to the Future. So it's
Did
pretty.
he did Romancing the Stone? Did he do Did he also do the Jewel of the Nile, or did somebody else do the
No, I think
sequel?
he did. Yeah, he did Jewel of the Nile, I think. And see.
Because Danny DeVito was.
Oh, maybe he didn't.
Did he not? He yeah. I
They
they're
have.
so different from one another.
Yeah, I
Now,
didn't
when
really
you say
like Jewel of the Nile. I
you
didn't
didn't
really.
like it,
No, I
that's not
saw
the
it
soupy
once, and
way.
what?
That's not the soupy way. He did the Amazing Stories movie in '86.
Yeah, he did
I think it
a
was a
bunch of the
TV
episodes
movie.
too. He did the
Well,
TV movie, and then he did the some
what about
episodes.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, I saw that I think once or twice in the '80s when it came out and I had it on or I didn't have it, but I rented it on VHS. And I think that was the last time I seen it. I wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of kind of slapstick stuff, and so that's how I viewed that.
Duly noted.
But
Definitely,
it's Uh,
Becomes Her was really
y-
hilarious
I
and
never saw that
great.
movie. I've
Yeah,
never seen that movie. Yeah,
you've not. Bruce Willis is fantastic, and I
that's
mean,
what I
you got
hear.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you have Meryl Streep. Obviously, is I mean, it's Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Um, but Forrest Gump is was, and I haven't seen it in an awful long time. I'm assuming it still holds up. Um,
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you
yeah,
this.
yeah.
So Forrest Gump takes home, let's see,
What,
takes
eight, nine
home the
Oscars?
Oscar
Yeah,
for I think Best Picture
yeah. Best.
over Pulp Fiction. Do you think that that's one of the crimes against humanity ever in the history of the Oscars? Or
In hindsight,
yeah, did I get you?
I mean, my emotionally, I would like Pulp Fiction to win, but I don't know, dude. They both just changed. They changed the way movies happen from that point. I mean,
Yeah,
Pulp Fiction's
yeah,
told out of order. Most people are not used to that. It's being done by an independent filmmaker who the Academy doesn't like.
yeah.
So you see why it gets passed over. Still hasn't won an Oscar, as far as I know, and he doesn't
I
care.
think
It's like
yeah, I think he'll get like one of those career achievement ones probably when he
sure,
retires because I think he's making his lot.
posthumously,
Yeah, no, I think he'll still be around, but
well, he's still
I mean,
independent,
yeah, pretty much.
right?
He's just picks his he picks. I think he just picks and chooses who. I think he probably has some sort of contract with a studio, but I think they just let him do what he wants. And I couldn't imagine that he'd have to shop around for distribution and all that kind of stuff.
Thought he was his own. Him and Robert Rodriguez have their own production company, don't they?
I think Robert Rodriguez does. I don't know. You can let's check on that.
There
I
was
don't
an
know.
episode of Iconoclast with Fiona Apple
Yeah,
and Quentin Tarantino, and they
I didn't
went
see
to
that one. Yeah.
I burned it off your iPod.
No, I only had John Krakauer and Sean Penn, and then
Okay,
Eddie Vedder
yeah,
What's his name?
and
Lance, the
no, it
surfer
was
guy. Big
yeah,
God dash. This is what happens when you get old. You just
I know, right?
things slip.
Um, yeah, I can see him.
Yeah.
He's married to Gabby Reese.
Oh man.
There we go. This is good pod right here.
Yeah.
Two of
That's
us
great,
looking
bud.
for a name.
Well, the good thing is I can edit this, so I can.
Yeah, yeah. Cut that out. Cut that out. Cut that out.
um, well, we should do a deep dive on some other movies because I was thinking,
How many of these have
um,
you done?
this is my first movie one, and this is the
Okay.
first one I've done with somebody. Next week I have, or yeah, next week I have open too, but then on or the next couple of weeks I have open, but after the first Niner game, because I think is it Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football? I can't remember. But after that, I have a buddy of
Yeah.
mine.
Prime time. It's a prime time
Yeah.
game.
So after that game, the day after, I have a podcast with a buddy of mine. We're just going to talk about the day's games and the season like preview and all that kind of
Oh
stuff.
shit!
So yeah. So if you ever want to do anything like that too,
I'll be
let
a
me know.
friend of the show.
Sweet.
Whenever
That'd
you
be
need
awesome.
me in a pinch, dude, I'm in. I like this.
Well, we should do because I want to do like deep dives like this,
Hmm.
and I want to do like um um. Wait, hold on a second.
Laird Hamilton.
Laird Hamilton.
Yeah.
Bam. Okay. So yeah, I want to do deep dives and just like kind of. I want to do like The Exorcist and Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Pulp Fiction. I have a buddy that we're gonna do Pulp Fiction, but um, and then just movies that you like. I started this whole podcast thing with a movie called My Science Project. Have you ever seen that movie? That came
No.
out that came out this year too, 85. It came out like I think a week or a month after Back to the Future. But I never saw it in the theaters. When I lived in Sacramento and we got a VCR, my stepdad got these tapes. And you remember when you can film or tape or record 3 movies to a tape?
Oh
Did you
yeah,
ever?
yeah. If
Yeah,
you do the XL, you can get a like a
right.
yeah. Yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep.
you get like 200 minutes, whatever. Anyways,
Right, right,
so
right.
um, so we had like 3 movies, and one of the tapes had my this movie called My Science Project, and back in those days, I would just I had there was like Delirious and all these other movies that were on it,
Yeah.
so I would watch that, and it's pretty good. It's pretty um, it's with Cougar from Top Gun. He's in it. He's the main guy. Cougar. What's his name? Dean Stockwell,
Oh
John
shit,
Stockwell,
yes.
John Stockwell. I think that's his name.
Dean. No, you're right, Dean. It's
Oh, is
Dean.
it Dean? Let's
Mm-hmm.
see. Yeah. So
He was the
he's
older
like
guy.
let's
No,
see,
that's Jester. Jester's
John.
dead.
uh,
Dean
that's I
Stockwell was in Quantum Leap.
John Stockwell is
John
Top
Stock.
Gun.
Okay.
Dean is the one I think, and they're not related either. So, but anyways, they play a high school student,
They're
and he's
probably
getting
related somehow.
yeah,
Eskimo
and
brothers, maybe.
and
Yeah,
he's trying
Hollywood's a
to
small town, man.
and Dennis Hopper is the science teacher,
Oh, nice.
and he's gonna flunk him if he doesn't pass his science project. So he goes and he finds this like engine. It's about like this big, and it was one of those balls that was popular in the '80s that would have the electricity, and you put your finger on it, and
Yeah, yeah,
one of those.
yeah, yeah. At the
And
Exploratorium had one.
yeah, so then it was like this engine with that ball on it, and it was an engine, I guess, because they have this little prelude at the beginning of the movie, how back in the 50s when they shot down the UFO, that was the engine to it. So he finds it and he passes it off as his science project. But the thing is that he starts plugging it into stuff, and the thing just draws power. And so he plugs it into the outlet, and this whole chaos ensues. And you should
No
check it
way.
out. Yeah, it's got a lot of
Like
it's
the
a lot of cool
lawnmower
people.
man.
Well,
Like, completely
oh
different from the short story from Night Shift, by the way.
yeah, that's what
No,
I that
had nothing to do with becoming part of electricity.
well, the thing that I read about that or heard about that was that the computers were, like computer movies about computers were really popular, so they needed to incorporate that into a movie. So they
Sure,
just
that was
one of the
not the
crime.
one to do. What
Yeah,
they should
yeah,
have done
exactly.
was you got to do one on Maximum Overdrive. Anything where an inanimate object becomes alive
Yeah.
is a good one to do a deep dive on. You have a hard out at what 2?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, keep me posted, dude. I'm in. You know how
yeah. Okay.
I do.
All
I
right,
will.
cool, man.
I mean, I love how we just launched into it, and I'm like, what are we talking about today? And we're going to talk about Back to the Future. I'm like, got it,
Sweet. Got it.
got it.
Let's plan one for like I really want to talk about um like The Exorcist. I don't know how you like that movie. Do you like that movie?
So it's not one that I watch on repeat and
Yeah.
or have
It's
recorded on.
hard.
So like Fletch is one of those movies where I've got it that I recorded it off TV and it's on
Yeah.
one of the VHS tapes with 3 other movies, and
Oh
I know
yeah.
that it goes like Fletch, Children of the Corn, and I forget what the third one is. I think the third one cuts off because it was too long or whatever.
Yeah.
I have one of those VHS tapes, or I did, and back in our day, we had 3 channels, so if
Yeah.
you had a tape, you would just and wore the thing out. So I had Fletch, yeah. So, but The Exorcist is not one of those. The Exorcist is has
We could do
been
Fletch.
broken down a lot.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where you come down on is there a demon? Is there not a demon? Because there's
Well,
some
a lot of people.
it's like a turn of the screw kind of thing. Where like, is there really a demon? Is there not? I've heard the different theories.
Well, I think the thing that gets me and why I want to talk about it is because I see a lot of these reactors on YouTube, which, dude, they're hilarious and they're good, but a lot of them don't really seem to grasp um the like, because I always think it's a story about Father Karras,
Right.
and
It is.
it's about his kind of reconnecting with his faith. Why there's a lot of little Easter eggs that are dropped throughout the story that's hinting toward that, and
Did he
um
bring this on this poor girl?
I think that it was I think it was just kind of a I don't know what the word is, but I think it was kind of like that was the catalyst, because I think, at the beginning of the movie, Father Marin, that's what it is, finds those little statues. He's in northern Iraq and he's digging up everything. And he
Right.
knows, he feels that, oh, all right, it's coming. And then, but he doesn't know when, or he just has this feeling. And then I think, um, during the course of the movie with Reagan, when we're introduced, there's all these little things that happen. Um, and for me, anyways, I was always wondered why do we introduce him so early in the movie, but yet he doesn't really come into play until at least like the last third of the movie.
Right.
And plus, the movie's a slow burn, and I think people nowadays, because I think when the new Exorcist came out, it was I was like, nah,
No.
it just looked. I saw at before, when I went and saw Oppenheimer, they
Yes.
had the trailer, and I was like, what? Why are they
No, it
what?
doesn't make any sense. You have to understand what was happening at the time. The
Yeah,
satanic panic was happening at the
yeah,
time.
yeah,
The Son of Sam. I mean, this was the golden era of serial killers. There was a lot of copycat stuff going on. People were terrified that their kids were going to be sucked up by satanic cults, and then The Exorcist.
yeah, yeah.
Priests are getting killed. Time out.
Yeah, you just didn't see that in
You
cinema.
can't
You
you
saw a
can't
lot of like,
you can't recreate that
yeah. And
by
I think they
just going,
try
oh, I'm gonna
now.
make a scarier version of it because the cat's gonna jump out of the wall. And
Yeah, right. It's
um,
just cheap
I
scares and
I'm down to do an Exorcist one because I do have some takes on it that I would really
sweet.
rather not tell you on this one, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
got some takes that might blow your mind. So stay tuned for that one, friends and fans.
Well, let's do Fletch, and then we'll ramp up to like Exorcist and
Good.
Fast Times or whatever you want to do.
Read the Fletch books.
Oh, that's right. Did you see the one with John Hamm?
I did see the one with John
Did
Hamm.
you like it? I kind of liked
I
it.
did not like it.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No. And I love John Hamm. I'm a
Yeah,
huge Mad Men guy. I've watched Mad Men, I think, probably 5 or 6 times all the way through just because I love an anti hero
yeah.
or an anti hero. And it didn't do it for me, man. It's
Uh,
Chevy Chase just fumbling his way through.